Hello. It's it's been a little while. Why has it been so long? Ooh, I've been busy. Sorry. I know I do this thing where like this channel, we put like a few videos up and then I disappear for a while. Yeah, I've been very busy over on the main channel, and now we're entering like this product development phase because recently I started getting other people on board in this delegation space I've set up to help them, to help me do some work tasks. So basically this all translates to, and I have other people helping me work on products and stuff and preparing certain things for certain videos on the main channel. So for example, the community roundup videos, which seem to be quite popular, I now have it so anyone who's now taking part in this delegation workspace can go and help me prepare kind of ideas or note points for those videos. So they can basically like prepare a list of things to inform me what the video contains, so I have some guide as to what I'm looking for when I'm going to formulate my opinions about it. So that generally saves hours of time. But another thing is that I think since YouTube is doing a bit worse generally for everyone nowadays because of the well, COVID's kind of, I won't say it's coming to an end because it's clearly not gone, but I think a lot of areas in digital industry are now kind of seeing the effects of people going back to work and, you know, not having as much free time on their hands, or rather not as much time to learn new skills or just occupy themselves at home by doing and trying things that they might not have otherwise tried. And I think Blender is one of those things, or it was for a lot of people. So in this video, I might show you some of the stuff I've been doing today specifically, and we'll just have a little chat about some stuff. So like recently, I spoke about this on a recent Blender Nest recording. There's 2 in the bank now for Blender Nest, which we haven't edited and put up. That's a whole other conversation as well, because it's taking a while to kind of get those done because they're entirely voluntary things and no one really wants to do any work that's unpaid at the moment. Kind of going back to the whole things that's doing a bit worse for everyone now that, like, you know, the kind of COVID boom is coming to a close. Anyway, one of the things about being on YouTube is you have to kind of get your head around this whole balance, this mental balance of wanting to make content and wanting to kind of really push yourself to make more stuff, to get more subscribers, to get more views, so that in the future you won't have to worry so much about kind of, you know, grinding so hard, with the idea being that the more you grind now, the less you have to grind later. And it's the same kind of future mentality mindset that I think everyone has in every line of work. If I study, if I get my degree, if I work hard now, I'll get a better job later. If I work hard at where I am in my job now, I'll get a promotion. I can, you know, get more money in the long term. That'll make things easier, etc. I mean, whatever variation of that you want to feel. Now, the thing is, though I do feel that to a certain degree with YouTube stuff, it's kind of weird because I don't have to. Like, I've always had this maybe kind of chaotic mentality, which I've spoken about on here, where we try to do absolutely everything all at once, and that's a very common kind of feeling that I think a lot of creatives have. They want everything, but the realistic side of it is that no one has the time or the mental capacity to do absolutely everything they want to. But we all try nonetheless, and I feel like I, maybe through some degree of hyperfixation, have more things under my belt than other people in the same kind of field. And I think a representation of that is probably the wide variety of projects that we have going across like regular creative and technical kind of fields and skill sets. So that'll be the artistic and the coding stuff. Strictly speaking, if YouTube didn't exist, there would still be a job. However, because YouTube is like the driving force, it's the main focus behind my lifestyle right now, and it's, I think, the option out of all of them which provides the greatest benefit over the longest amount of time. That's clearly the main focus. So as these last few months have come around, the general subscriber increase has dropped by about 50% on average, just generally across the board. And I've done a lot of experimentation recently with different video types, and I've been making notes and kind of self-reports. It sounds more professional than it actually is, but no, I just basically take a lot of screen grabs of the statistics as things are going on, and I'm making notes between the different types of videos and just seeing an average, like what's changed when compared to like a year ago. Subscriber growth generally has halved. So that's the change that's happened coming out of the, you know, the COVID slump or the COVID boom, whatever we want to call it. Even though subscriber increases have dropped, views have not necessarily dropped. They have dropped by a certain amount, but not to the same degree. However, it did seem for a while the kind of predictable video behavior has also changed significantly. And I've heard the same thing from other creators as well. Anyway, basically things have become less reliable, and you kind of feel like you have to run a bit faster just to keep up with what your regular pace was. But basically all of this happening, it creates pressure, it creates tension, it creates stress. And it makes you reflect and think, okay, well, the content I'm making, is it actually good? Like, am I getting worse? Is it worthwhile, etc.? And you kind of like the lifestyle that you have and the way that you balance all of your projects is based on your performance. And you're always making this continual assessment of your performance across different fields, measuring up time investments to see where it's the best place to invest your time. So which projects that would be. So obviously the projects which generate more money or more enjoyment should be the ones you give more time, but that's not always the case if you're a bit stupid like me. And other projects like the YouTube, which generates something which money can't buy, which is like a following. You can't buy a genuine following, so therefore that has a higher priority than like money-making products. At least that's how I see it. Other people aren't necessarily the same in that regard. They'll put money much higher than that, but that's not really how I do it. But anyway, given the change that's happened recently, like the last few months, I now do like another assessment on all of the projects, and I think to myself, well, it's no longer worth investing the same mental effort that I was investing into YouTube to try and catch up with that previous growth, because that's just not going to happen. And the amount of effort it's going to require to actually get that would be like, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 main channel videos per week. And that's just not feasible. So instead, we take that mental effort and we reallocate it. So now that effort is being reallocated to product work. So we're now taking the step down from focusing on audience growth, and we're now moving it to focusing on monetary growth. Sorry, I don't usually talk about kind of businessy things in these kinds of terms on like this channel or the other channel. But like when you're doing so many things and when you're an online personality, it's obviously not just the personality side of things, and it's not just like the hobby and like interest side of things like Blender. A lot of it is like the admin and the paperwork and the taxes, the financial things, the sales, the responding to help requests, the people that accidentally purchased your product and want a refund, and people coming to you with certain offers and making affiliate agreements and doing all of that. And the thing which takes up the most amount of time is ignoring emails. I spend so much time doing that. But anyway, this is a long-winded way of saying that product work is now the main focus. And there were kind of indications that this was going to be the case like early on in the year. In fact, it's the excuse I gave to some larger companies when I didn't want to do sponsorships early in the year. I basically couldn't be bothered, but the main excuse was I'm going to focus more on products this year. So I already had that going through my mind, and it was kind of because I knew I could see the change coming. But anyway, I think I've set myself up okay to actually be shifting focus like this. So I'm going to show you some stuff I've been doing today. So this is for the Procedural Patterns pack, which is my collection of, well, procedural patterns. It's basically just like node groups you can use for all kinds of materials and stuff. Let me just show you. If I go to the general display, ignore all the visuals. As cool as they may look, ignore them for now, because this isn't what we're supposed to be looking at. We're not supposed to see this. Okay, let me put the bright light catcher on. Wow, that is really bright. Wait, that's brighter than it should be, isn't it? What did I change? Did I change anything? Maybe I'll darken that a bit. Okay, sorry. So, oh, don't freeze. It froze. It hasn't frozen all day, but as soon as I want to do the recording, it freezes. Of course it does. Bear with me. Anyway, so the Procedural Patterns pack is a paid pack I have on my Gumroad and Blender market, and the idea is you can use these collections of like procedural node groups to build up all kinds of different materials. So we have like scratch effects, we have these kind of splotches, all kinds of different like grunge effects and stuff, even some caustics. So you can like make a wide variety of different things with them. Thanks to some help from Charon, so just 3D things, we now also have some more mathematical patterns, so like tiling things. So we have like bricks and hexagons and stuff. And I can show you some of the demonstration materials, which I've also made. And I've also been doing some experimentation with volume procedural patterns. So if I get this camera back on, this is what we kind of saw at the beginning. This is the more complex one, which I actually did a render for and put on the Twitter, because I basically wanted to see, because there's like 3-dimensional data in these generated textures, what would happen if I took these patterns, which we would traditionally use for doing procedural materials, and use them for a volume use case. And the results are actually quite spectacular, but obviously quite difficult to render. Actually, they're not that bad. I mean, I was trying to see if I could do some kind of holographic-y type effect stuff using volumes. So that's why we have like the kind of blue and pinky purples, but there's still more work to be done there. But let me show you some of the brick examples. If I go to the wall display, let's change this camera around. Okay, so here you can see an example of like black tiles, and there's some randomization in their offset. They're using adaptive subdivision, so they have some 3-dimensional depth, although at the moment, because it's the viewport, you don't have like the maximum geometric detail going on. But that's pretty cool. And there are some other brick examples as well. So there are some more traditional brick ones. So these are using some of the new nodes, which Charon has helped us with, and I think that will be pretty useful for people. So when I feel like I've got enough for the update, which is actually probably soon, I'll probably talk about the kind of tiling effects, and yeah, I might talk about like how you can use them in the use case for things like the volume effects. Then I'll probably talk about that on the main channel and just, you know, try and push the package a bit. One thing I like to do is whenever we do stuff like this, I try and find some interesting artistic use cases. So these will be demonstrations which can be shown on the videos, because I feel like that really helps to kind of sell the idea. That's one of the things you learn very quickly when making content for an an audience. It's as you're developing the tools in your mind, you have like all of these fantastic use cases which it could be used for, but you just don't have the time to make it. But people don't know that. So when they get hold of the tool and they use it, they never use it for like the really exciting stuff. And I had that with BiGen. There's still a lot of stuff that can be done with the BiGen, kind of more hard-coded generation stuff, but people never really use it for that. It's all about the exciting new fancy features. And this might be a bit confusing here. I'm using a special version of BiGen, and you'll see Charon, look here, material name, click me Charon. Basically, like recently, and I alluded to this in a main channel video, Charon was, he kind of begged me to help him make a tool where if you select node groups, if you've changed a value on the node group and you want that value to be the new default for the node group, then you can select that and then press click me Charon, and that will update the default values. So that's pretty handy. Of course, that's not going to be in the actual next version of BiGen. I just could not be bothered to make an actual like new panel, which might sound a bit weird. It was actually easier for me just to add it to BiGen since I already had that workspace set up. So I just did that and then gave him a copy of this secret version. If you're wondering why the background here has this kind of grid pattern, it's actually, if we take a look, just the lines X and lines Z node groups kind of just mixed together for the color there. And it's kind of just stretching across the light catcher or shadow catcher, whatever you want to think of it as. So yeah, so in terms of other updates, Joshua Bloomer has been working on EasyBPY. So EasyBPY is one of those projects, again, like kind of talking about time investments and stuff. When you have so many projects going on, you always think, okay, well, what's the important thing to work on? So obviously, like as we said, things of which gain an audience are quite important for me, or contribute to a community culture, which is kind of synonymous. Following that, it's stuff which kind of brings in money, because that's also very important. You can't really do the rest of it without making money. EasyBPY is very low down on that priority list, even though I've had, a significant number of people express interest in it and use it for their projects and kind of ask for resources to learn from it. Well, the thing is, EasyBPY doesn't make money because it's a free project, and therefore it's very low down on the list. Now, we have had some donations from it, but for donations to reasonably alter the priority listing for projects, they have to compete with those other projects. So they have to compete with the importance of those other projects. So for something so far down on the list to reasonably take over priority, it has to get a lot of donation for it to be like put on top of the list. So that's why I thought it was important to get the delegation space set up now, because it now means that I can offer some money to other people to do the work on those projects which are lower down on my personal priority list. So now we can focus on different parts to make sure that stuff doesn't necessarily get left out. I also need to be clever and try to make sure that I am actually making money back on the investment for giving money to people for them to help with doing these work tasks. So that's why I'm taking it slow to start with. I've paid a certain amount of money to Charon, for example, to help with procedural patterns. And now it's up to me to try and kind of complete this update in a branded way and then present that to people and then get them to buy it. And if that purchase doesn't, make back the money and more, then it's not worth the investment. So it's just an experiment to see how this is going to work. If it does work, I think it'll be great, because in that case, we'll be able to invest more money into more projects and then get more content out there for people. So that's the ultimate goal. The goal is to get more content out to people in a certain amount of time without bankrupting myself. I do quite enjoy the managerial perspective on things, and I do also enjoy giving people creative freedom. But yes, there is always a balance which needs to be hit. But there are other changes which need to be made, especially kind of more on my personal side of things. So, an example of that would be I need to find a faster way to record, edit, and put out videos. And part of that is changing my kind of habit process for how the videos are recorded and how much of a perfectionist I am with actually making the videos, how much I care about like watch retention and stuff, because a lot of the time when you're editing the videos, you're doing it so tight in a way that is optimized for people's viewing experience. However, there is a point of diminishing returns. This is again another one of those things which I've kind of noticed again, like the last few months, what has changed compared to the last year. Okay, well, generally the average watch time for certain video types has completely changed. So it used to be the average watch time across my videos, no matter what videos they were, was always about 3.5 minutes-ish across the board. It didn't matter what type of video it was always generally the same. Now, for some reason, the last few months, that has completely changed. So like regular tutorial type videos or like general news update piece videos are about 2 minutes or less. But for some reason, like the community roundup ones, like the last one I put out was 5+ minutes average watch retention. Now, again, keeping in mind that the previous community roundup videos we used to do were like smack bang in the middle of that average, about 3 minutes or so. Now, there may be a few kind of contributing reasons reasons for that. So people are more used to the series. They know what to expect. The most enjoyed ones, they get the most engagement and interactions in terms of comments and stuff. That's a good reason. But I don't think that's the only reason. I think it may also be something to do with maybe fewer new users being recommended the videos and the recommendations going instead to pre-existing users, which may contribute again to the fact that there's a 50% drop on average in the subscriber growth since last year. So I think more regular viewers are seeing the videos now, or they're bouncing through their home feeds than new viewers, but I'll need to double check on that. But I just think it's interesting how the kind of average watch time has just expanded like to extremes from what it used to be, for better or for worse. Like, it's just strange. But of course, there is also the fact that I do so many different types of videos and it is a bit chaotic. So of course, there's bound to be some variability. One project I do want to get back to is modular metals, of course. So after we've done the procedural patterns, I've also been pitching a new product idea with Joshua for EasyBPY. This is part of what I just said about EasyBPY not generating money. I want to do a product where it's basically like a cookbook for EasyBPY. So it's a collection of blend files with practical examples of how to use the module, so people can see, oh, I can interact with my artwork using Python, using EasyBPY to make it easier in this way. So here are all the funky and cool things we can do with it, and that'll be a paid package. Probably not too much, but we'll see. But I know that some people will buy that, and that will hopefully generate some money for the project. So rather than it just being a completely free ecosystem like EasyBPY as it is now, there will at least be some way for that project to make money back. And then that will also justify more investments in kind of hiring people to work on the module. So that's going to be another important part going forward if I can actually get that set up. But Joshua seems to like the idea, so we'll see how that goes. And when I say Joshua, I'm referring to Joshua Bloomer, not the other coding Joshua who's a developer of Serpents. There are a lot of Joshuas in this community, and they all seem to be developers. Do you like my transitions here? I've got different OBS setups. I thought it'd be funny to have one. Oh, that's the wrong one. Oh no. You just saw my sneaky audio message preset. This is what I send to people when I can't be bothered to write a text email or a message to them. I record something like this and I just send them the video clip, and that's how it goes. All right, yeah. Anyway, when I'm showing project updates and stuff, I don't usually go into too much detail in the main videos because, again, like the whole watch time thing and the watch retention, you don't want to sit there for too long explaining stuff because you always think people tend to click off, so you want to keep it condensed. So like when I make something like this car paint shader, I think I mentioned it in a video, but like I didn't give it a proper demonstration. And I actually really liked it. I was quite happy with this shader. It's got like proper flakes and everything. Like when you zoom in here, as you can see, you have the reflective lighting and then we have like the flake details going over. But like the key about it was having like a softer layer of flakes and then a slightly harsher layer of flakes. Although I did just have my scale wrong, so let me just modify that again. It should be 1. This is the whole thing about presets. So don't want to show you too much of that. Let's go to the scale. Yeah, see, the mag should be okay. So as you can see, there are kind of 2 levels of flakes going on here. There's a softer layer underneath, and then there's a harsher layer on top. And we can kind of increase the scale of that a bit. And that basically contributes to the paint flaking effect. And like, you're not supposed to look at it super close up. When you look at it from far away, it's quite nice because there's kind of roughness variation on highly reflective areas. And I think it makes a big difference. And there is a kind of Fresnel-ish element going on with the paint as well. So as we change the secondary color or the Fresnel color, then you can see that we get this kind of nice metallic look to the paint. And I think this will look lovely on car-like shapes. So I was quite happy with this one. That's available in the Modular Metals package. But now I've noticed that the scale value was wrong. I will need to go and update that in the actual final product package so people can actually use it properly. Anyway, I just thought I'd give a little update of what's been going on and why I haven't been very present on this channel. I've been setting up that delegation space for people, starting this new experimental phase of trying to get more people on board and like focusing on products, and just I wanted to keep you in the loop about like the shifting priority. And for my headspace, there's, you know, like 2 elements to it. There's me trying to become more optimized for the video production for like the different series and stuff. And then on the other side of it, it's just kind of shifting focus from videos to product-based stuff so we can basically generate more valuable things for the community over time and hopefully make that a more sustainable enterprise So yeah, and I have received like a fair number of requests from people like willing to do voluntary work. The thing is, the way that my delegation space is set up at the moment on Notion, I don't have like finite control over permissions. So for example, anyone I let in can do some significant and possibly damaging modifications to the space. And so I would be careful letting in people that I don't really know too well, kind of just coming in and doing free stuff. I have even gotten the people who are taking part now to sign some NDAs to prevent them from sharing information that's on there. So if I did do something to help get volunteers on board, I would have to set up a different space with very limited permissions and then kind of see how to do it. I'd probably need someone to act as a middleman between kind of giving them tasks and like bring the information back. But I'll think about it, because ultimately, though I do need help with products and stuff, I need the most help with videos. The preparation for videos and the editing for videos, those are the two things which require the most amount of effort. They are the most complicated things and the hardest things to explain to someone how to do properly. The actual recording is fine. Like if I know what I'm supposed to talk about, or if I have some visual guide to help me through it, then that's fine. But I hope the complexity of like all of these different things, all these different projects, these lines of work isn't lost on anyone, because there is so much that happens behind the scenes for this line of work, and I kind of like that. It's quite the complexity is exciting, because like you can really get lost in everything, and it is quite liberating, I think, having this sense of control. I guess partly from like a managerial standpoint, but also partly in the fact that a long Curtis. But maybe not control. It's more like I can do what I set out to do, or I know that whatever I make, someone is going to see it, or if I make a product, someone is going to buy it. There's this freeing and liberating feeling which comes with that, which I really like, and I enjoy that side of things. But of course, with all of the exciting stuff which happens around all of this, there is that mundane side, and the mundane side is the antithesis of liberating. It's draining. That's what it is. All right, so maybe before we close this up, there's just a couple more things we can take a look at. Okay, I've got my incognito window here. Let's just head on over to the channel quickly, because I want to share something. So when I was feeling particularly bad about like the performance of recent videos, especially for the Blender conference is back, are you going? Obviously this is quite a hyper specific one, but it still did like way worse than I expected. It was the worst performing video of the year. But anyway, I kind of allayed some of my disappointments to people, and I got this lovely message from Polyfield basically saying that he likes the video, it would be cool to me. Everything's been going low generally from what he's seen as well, and it's especially worse when the YouTube studio kind of makes you feel like you have to keep up with yourself. So that was a nice video to receive. It kind of just like helps to recenter you mentally and kind of gives you the sense that you're not alone. But also, I noticed that CG Matter recently, actual name Tom, he put up this video called Identity Crisis.
So before
and maybe let's have a little listen to it while we're here, but you can of course go and watch it.
To begin, I just want to say that my thoughts are very scattered right now, so if I say things that don't make sense and they come in a weird order and it sounds scattered, that's just a direct representation of what is going on over here.
Well, you pretty much just described this entire video.
That's kind of the point. So let me tell you about the identity crisis that is inflicting all of us, quite frankly. So CG Matter, this YouTube channel that you're watching, originally was a Blender tutorial channel, and it's gone through a lot of phases. Like it's gone through let's do a VFX shorts.
Now you would have known this if you had seen kind of like all of his videos, or if you've been following him for a while, but much in the same way that I've been experimenting with different things and other YouTube channels have, he's also been experimenting, and even now he's doing kind of this new thing where he has these numbered kind of animation things. I don't know if he'll continue doing that, but this video is him basically kind of reflecting on those changes and saying that there needs to be more structure in his content. And I think in this one specifically, he's talking about maybe doing a geometry nodes kind of base series of content, but it's worth watching. But anyway, this is just a representation of what I was saying. I think everyone now is feeling that there has been a change and something needs to change for us, like individually, how we structure our content. So yeah, like coming out of this COVID era has been a little bit tricky for people. I did always feel like for the longest time there wasn't much structure for my channel, and I kind of liked it that way because I get bored if there is something kind of hyper repetitive and obvious. But we do have a series on my channel, and that's the Blender Project series, or the Community Roundups as it's otherwise called. I identify them just with the simple Blender projects, like text going across the thumbnail. People know what these are, they enjoy them, and they are somewhat different in the way that there's always something different to share, and I quite like that. However, these do take a long time to prepare, but the community response is always nice, and that's really encouraging. So I feel like it's important to have some degree of structure and some degree of like experimentation, so that we're always trying to find new paths and new footing and discover new, more exciting, more important things which may ultimately be helpful for people. So yeah, I guess that'll end the video. This has just been like a little discussion and deep dive and just kind of letting you know what I've been doing, where my headspace is at, why I've disappeared from the second channel for a little while, and what we're currently focusing on. So hopefully some of the results should be exciting, and if you keep an eye on the main channel, and I will also like try and put stuff out on the Twitter as well, as I have been doing, then there should be some cool stuff coming. So let's hope this experiment works, and let's hope that I can actually turn this into a functional business model where I can actually make more money back than I spend, therefore being able to invest more money back into people, into more projects, to get more back and just try and keep it rolling like that. I know it's possible, it just has to be done right. So yes, thank you for watching everyone. Stay safe. Let me know what you've been getting up to as well. Of course, feel free to support any of the projects or sign up to the Patreon. But yeah, hopefully I can get some new stuff into your hands very soon. So thank you and goodbye.